Colin Powell once said, "There are no secrets to success. It's the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure." And we couldn't agree more. This is Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. We'll talk to people from all walks of life and pick their brains about their journey, the process, and the ups and downs to becoming successful. You want inspiration and motivation? It all starts here. This is the Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. And now your host, Kyle Sullivan.
What's going on, champions? Welcome to another episode of Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. Our guest today is Carden. She is someone that has been in business for 41 years, marketing, sales experience with over 30 years as an entrepreneur. She's built seven successful businesses, selling 5 of them, and is current owner of 2. I mean, we could stop there, but we won't. And has been coaching and consulting for the past 7 years and has worked with several hundred small business owners, consultants, coaches, professional entrepreneurs, and over 50 different types of businesses to further their success. She's also a 3-time published author for business, marketing, and success. And her latest book was a #1 international bestseller. She's been a public speaker for almost 40 years, and she is the host of her own podcast, The Expert in You. And thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thank you, Kyle. I'm super excited to be here with you. And it's been 13 years in coaching. I don't know where we messed up on the bio, but that's okay.
Man, 13 years of coaching. Man, as if the bio was not impressive enough. And thanks for the clarification.
Well, somewhere we had an error. I'm like, 7, that's half the time. Nope, it's been longer than that, but no worries.
Absolutely. Well, we'll either way, it's been a while and you have tons of experience. You have a ton of expertise. You've built, sold, currently own businesses. We know what you've done, but who is Ann behind the bio?
Oh my goodness. Well, let's see. I am a wife of 41 years this year. I'm a mom of 2 adult kids that are amazing. I am so blessed and so grateful. And I'm also a grandmother of triplets, 6-year-old triplets. And we just had another new baby. They just had another new little sister in November. So my pride and joy. And then I love fun things. So I love things like zip lining, 4-wheeling, skydiving, crazy fun things. So that's me.
I love that. And it brings so much more depth. And honestly, for me, respect of what you've done to be able to have all those passions and things you do for fun, being married as long as you have, adult children that are thriving, being a grandparent, and all that you've done in business. And so really the years that you've been doing it of coaching and consulting was before it was kind of a cool thing to do. I feel like it's really caught steam in the last 5 or 6 years, but you've been doing it for double that time. So how did you get into that? How was it, when you started? How have you seen a shift? Kind of talk about your journey a bit.
Oh, that's such a great question. And you're absolutely right. When I first came into coaching, I came into coaching because I worked with a business coach in my last 2 businesses. I had opened those during the recession and I was running 4 businesses at the time. We expanded during the recession. And I had sold the other 2. And so I hired a business coach because I was really struggling. I was in a brand new market, a market I had never been in before. And I was struggling to get those 2 businesses above break even. It was a marketing problem, but I was approached by a business coach. I had no idea what she could do for me. And I went out on a limb because I was desperate and I hired her and I already understood business. So I ran good businesses. It was the marketing piece that was hanging me up. And so when she turned me around in about 30 days and showed me it was only a marketing problem, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is fixable and I can do this. And it just really got me on a course. I was so excited about it. I saw the impact that it made in my life. And I thought, where have you been? All those other businesses that I had. Oh my gosh, if I would have had a business coach, I can't imagine what I would have been able to accomplish because I just had to figure it out as I went along. And that's costly and it's very time consuming. And so it made such an impact. I just knew this is such a game changer. But that was the first I had really come across business coaching. I had no idea, that coaches and consultants even existed. But also it was kind of right on the edge of people were just starting to come online. The internet was starting. So, I mean, we think the internet's been here forever. It has not. I built all of my businesses except for the last couple was when I really started online and doing those things. So.
Yeah, I love that. I remember still having to go, get the CD-ROM to put in to get your minutes, and now it's like it's so funny to think about the nostalgic things of how I was a kid, but how business was having to be built, and
Yes.
but how have you seen, because I feel like there's a coach for everything, and that's somebody that does coaching. We're both in the industry, but there's a coach for everything. How were you able to figure out, and this is what I want to do, this is who I want to work with? How were you able to navigate that? And how has it evolved over the years that you've done it?
Blood, sweat, and tears. So one of the reasons I wrote my best-selling book, my last book, Expert in You, Kyle, is because I was so frustrated with the industry. When I got into this industry, I invested, oh my gosh, I cannot tell you the stuff I invested in, how much I invested, hundreds of thousands of dollars to figure things out. And everything was so cookie cutter, so rinse and repeat. So I felt like I was just piecemealing my business together. And so one more thing would move me a little bit further. And it was so frustrating. And I actually started the reason I started working with coaches and consultants, I actually worked with small business owners for years, but I started working with coaches and consultants specifically because of the journey that I had taken to figure it out, how to be successful. And then I was in a coaching organization, a business coaching organization, and I was one of the only coaches having success. So they were promoting me, and they had me on their Ask the Expert calls every week talking about what I was doing. And before long, I was sort of building their business. And I had coaches coming to me. They were even sending coaches to me. They were even having people call me to see what I thought about their program, but I wasn't using their program. I had figured out my own program. I was really staying in more for the community. So it got to a point where, okay, I think there's such a need here. There are gaps in most of the coaching programs and things that are out there. And I started working with coaches, and I really saw an opportunity. Like if I can impact them, they can impact way more businesses and people than I can do by myself. So that was where I made the shift, and I didn't make the shift completely right away. I was still working with small businesses. I still actually have small business clients that have been with me for years, but then I started working with coaches and consultants, and finally that just really took off. But I wrote my book really as a pushback to the industry because I was so frustrated.
I love that, and I'll definitely have to make sure to get your book. What were some of the things that frustrated you about the industry and made you so compelled to go, man, I'm not going to push back on this on a small level. I'm going to write a book. And obviously it was well received because of the ranking that it had. But what were some of those things that you pushed back on?
So the cookie cut, everything being too cookie cutter. I pushed back on, so I was doing little bitty programs like 8 weeks or 90 days. I was taught to do that. And one of the things that was very frustrating about that is I would start working with coaches. I would get them some quick results. And then I had nothing else to offer them on the back end because that wasn't the way I was building my business. And they would go off and they would look for the next thing. And sometimes I would look, and maybe 5 or 6 months down the road, they had completely shifted and done something completely different because the next coach showed them to do something completely different and undid everything we did. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. People are burning up their money. I know I could help them with an A to Z approach to really help them build their business and give them everything they need. And so I just really drew a line in the sand, and I said, this is the way I'm going to build my business. I even had a coach at one time that I'd hired that said, Ann, you'll never get someone to pay you for a 12-month coaching program. not coaches or consultants. You'll never get that from them because they're so used to everything being cookie cutter, quick, rinse and repeat. And I said, well, either I'm going to bring those clients in, the ones that really want to grow a business and they're serious about growing a business and they're not just wanting to learn the next new strategy on how to get a client. And I said, and if I can't get this going, then I'm really over this because it wasn't fulfilling. I was getting coaches. I just was helping them with such a small piece of what I could do that it just wasn't fulfilling to me. And so I just thought I'm either going to go back to working with small businesses or I'm going to really help these people build businesses. So that was one thing. The other thing is the low ticket, bring people in at a low ticket, tripwire, the whole value ladder thing, and then send them up. I tried all that. Most of my clients have tried all that. And I pushed back because I was taught all of those things. And what I found is it brought in the wrong people. I was working with the wrong clients. Even in small business, I was bringing in people that had no money, people that just, had $7 to spend on something. And I just thought, okay, there's got to be a better way here. I have spent 42 years in business. I know what I'm doing in business. I am more than just selling a little bitty thing. And then, so I took a step back and I said, you know what? I'm going to start getting paid for all of those years of expertise, and I'm going to start really making an impact with people. So my whole approach is completely opposite of what everybody else is teaching. It is about you sell high first. When I'm talking high ticket, I don't say high ticket, I say ultra high, because I talk about $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 plus clients. Start there, and then everything else becomes a downsell. So even our lowest tier, even for my clients, is usually $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 in cash. That's their bottom. So it's a very different model from what other people are teaching. So those were my pushbacks.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going, okay, yeah, I've been taught that. No, I have not been taught what you're talking about. So I mean, selfishly, I'm going, hold up, I'm taking a whole lot more notes now. I love this. What are some of those mental barriers? Because I'm thinking about myself, my friends in the industry, the shift kind of from that. Okay, you get them in the door, you upsell, you do the squeeze page, all the stuff. To there's a mental shift when you say $50, $100, $150, $200,000 for a contract.
Yes.
What are some of those mental shifts of people? It's not, you had the back end experience of 40 plus years of business, but, what could people be mentally preparing themselves to be able to, charge what they are worth and what it matters to the client?
Yeah. So I will tell you this. I wish I could tell you there's an easy solution or an easy answer, but there really isn't, because most people, I really have to pull that value from them. They have no idea what they really, really could be doing in their business, because they can only see one thing. Like, we often can't see the things that we just assume, oh, everybody can do this, right? Oh, this is no big deal. And it's very hard for people to really understand their own value. And really, Kyle, it took me years of feeling not fulfilled to finally say, I have more to offer here. I have more to offer. So it does take this is one of the things that I think it's just a gift, quite honestly. It might be experience, but I am just able to see what this person has to bring to the table. And then how can we build an entire business around that expertise, knowledge, skills, experience? And what is that going to be worth to the market? And here's the thing. It's never about the money. It's about the market. And people don't understand that. So when you think, oh, $50,000, well, just think to a corporation, that's nothing. That's nothing, right? But it has to make sense to them. So when we're aligning pricing and packages and offers, it has to make sense to the buyer and it has to really be a no-brainer for them. And most people just don't really understand how to do that. So the interesting thing is, once I kind of pull that value from them and I show them how they can go sell that and why that would be worth what it's worth, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm kicking myself. I could have been doing that all along. So it's actually really interesting because even though they might be shaking to make that sale, they are not, the mindset, it's not about that anymore. It's a matter of me showing them, look, this is why it is worth this. And this is how you can get this, and walking them through all of those pieces. Like I helped a mindset coach go from $1,797 for a 3-month program, which is what she was taught by another coach, to closing a $40,000 client that turned into a 50, and she just re-signed them for another year. And she only works with them 2 hours a month. So it's not just about getting big fees. It's also about how can you get big fees and minimize the time that you're working with those clients. And so this is all just part of that structure, but it blows their mind when they see what they can do.
Yeah, it sounds incredible because, and, I love that you said, to a corporation, 50K is like, okay. Yeah. We're going to spend that on paper this year for our printers. And so I love, or more. So talk about what shifts you're even making right now. Is there anything, as you see the industry changing, you've been an expert in this for so long, what trends are you seeing in coaching and consulting that business owners should be aware of and people who are in our industry should be aware of?
I think we're going to see a bit of a shift. I think like with AI. But here's the thing. Okay. So I'll talk about AI for just a minute. I absolutely love ChatGPT. It is such a great tool for me in my business, but it's great for content and for things like that. Even, I help my clients a lot of times if they need to get an expert book done. I have a partner, get an expert book, but we'll even look up titles and things like that with ChatGPT. So I love to use it with my clients and it really speeds the process. But here is what I know. Nothing helps clients like somebody in the weeds with them. Someone who is guiding them and supporting them every step of the way. Like I'm sharing my clients' next 3 moves with them when they don't have a clue. And so here's where we're going, here's where we're going next. And so that is a very different, I don't think any AI is going to be replacing that. And people need accountability. That, I had somebody reach out to me this morning. She's getting ready to do a speaking presentation and just wanted to ask a couple of questions. She wouldn't have gotten the same response by putting that in ChatGPT. She just wouldn't have. So.
Yeah, 100%. I think, the idea of AI is just, as you said, it's a great tool.
The tool.
I'm a little concerned about generations behind us that will have access to all knowledge without the experience of how to use it. But I think it's great for those that can know what prompts to put in. But I love what you said too. Like nothing replaces the person that is in the weeds with you and being able to read not only words written, but body language and tonality and all of those things. You can't take that away. You can't take that away.
ChatGPT just isn't going to care about you when you're crying. So. It's just not. Right? Yeah. Entrepreneurship is this, right? And so there's all this emotional stuff that goes on with entrepreneurship. And I'm sorry, ChatGPT just does not have the same care and the same concern as Anne does to her clients. And ChatGPT doesn't go on the retreats with you, and do fun things and help you in your business. So, I think it's just a matter of keeping things in perspective. But here's the reality, Kyle. People could have Googled all the answers anyway. It's just ChatGPT is just doing things faster. So the information, there's nothing new ChatGPT is doing. It's just doing it faster. And it's curating, the information faster. But there's nothing new out there as far as content or information or knowledge. I can't imagine if I would have had access to everything that we have, but it also is the thing that makes us even more relevant because people are overwhelmed. They're confused. We see it all the time. They're chasing the next shiny object. They're not staying focused. Well, Chat GPT isn't going to help you stay focused either. So you have to just look at it for what it is. And that's just an example of what I'm talking about. But the other thing that I see changing in the industry is I think people are getting very tired of the cookie cutter programs, and more people are stepping up and saying, look, we're not just here to make money. We're here to make impact as well. And we have to be in integrity in this business. And I think there's a lot of pushback now. I felt such a lack of integrity in the coaching space. And again, why I wrote my book, that all felt like such a lack of integrity to me. And so for me, that is so important to me. It's one of the core values in my business is I'm not going to bring on a client unless I absolutely believe that I can help them. And that doesn't mean if they're not willing to do the work that they'll get the results, because there's always that. But I'm very selective and very careful about the clients I work with because I want to make sure they are the right fit. I want to make sure I really believe I can get them results and that they'll even take the actions that need to be taken. And I think if more people in this industry felt that way, we wouldn't see so many people feeling slighted or scammed, or there's just a lot of that out there.
Yeah, there's a lot, and it all sounds the same. Like you said, the cookie cutter, like, I can make you $1 million in 60 days. Let me see your bank account. One of the things I know that you leverage a lot and really are expert in is LinkedIn. Admittedly, I don't understand LinkedIn. I didn't grow up on it.
It's a whole different animal.
I was the Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat generation. Twitter and LinkedIn was like, what the heck is like, this is like for my parents. So admittedly, I don't understand it. And because it's kind of this foreign thing, I'm like, nah, I mean, there's probably value there. Most likely the people that I want to connect with are there. I know you believe and teach like it's a gold mine. So talk about the power of LinkedIn, and how to leverage it to grow business, regardless of, coaching, consulting, but also how to build relationships and connections and ultimately clientele with LinkedIn.
This is great because I'm actually teaching a whole group of coaches this afternoon about LinkedIn. So see, you're going to get me warmed up here. So LinkedIn, here's the thing. Even if you're not going to play on LinkedIn, everyone in business should have a LinkedIn profile and it should be optimized. And the reason for that is LinkedIn is a search engine and it will come up on the first page of Google. And your LinkedIn profile is actually like a mini website. Like there's not another platform out there that really is like a mini website. You can have a newsletter on there. You can do live streams on there. You can have a featured section. You can feature case studies, testimonials, all of your content. People can just put in what your activity is and they can pull up your articles. They can pull up it. It's a very, very robust platform. But the other thing that's so cool about it, Kyle, is it is a business platform. We have invaded all of these other social media platforms with business, but LinkedIn was built for business. Now, it was originally built for really recruiters and people looking for jobs, and there's still some of that. But LinkedIn is doing such a good job at really helping people build their businesses. And on other platforms, you're almost penalized if you're trying to build your business. I mean, look at Facebook ads, right? Like Facebook is not kind to business people. It's not, which drives me crazy because they're making all their money off of business people, but they're not. They're not kind to business people, but LinkedIn is not like that. Everything on LinkedIn is about helping you grow your business and what can we do for you? A good example of this is when they came out with the newsletter feature. I wasn't real sure how it would go, but I said, okay, I'm going to start a newsletter called Raising the Bar. It's about always be raising your bar. And, I think I had over 3,000 subscribers in the first week. And I didn't really do anything except create the newsletter and say, okay, here's my newsletter. LinkedIn pushed it out. So they do a better job pushing out content for you. And and again, an event, they'll do constant reminders. They'll show up in your email. There's so much that they do for businesses and for people. So that's the first thing. Everyone should at least have a profile. And again, it's a digital asset to your business. It's free. You don't even have to use the paid version of LinkedIn, to get that, digital asset. But if people search your name, here's an interesting point. Statistics show that over 70% of people said that they would trust a brand more if it was on LinkedIn. Think about that. So there's not all the spammy, there's kind of spammy messaging, but you don't see all the same kind of junk on LinkedIn that you see on a lot of the other platforms. So for that reason, LinkedIn's so powerful. But if you think about it, you want to build your speaking business, Kyle, oh my gosh, you should be on LinkedIn, because every organizer, conference person, people corporations, there's 97% of Fortune 500 companies are on LinkedIn. 97%. So all of those organizers and all of those people, you can find them and reach them and connect with them on LinkedIn. When you have a profile that's optimized, these people will connect with you. So you can get to people that you would have never had access to these people any other way. And you probably wouldn't any other way unless you met them in person somewhere. So high level CEOs, professionals, investors, people booking, influencers, there's so many people on LinkedIn, but it's really for professionals in the professional space. So you're not going to see, I shouldn't even say that really. You will see coaches and consultants are on there, but they're professionals, right? So it really is about professionals. You won't see you'll see plumbing company profiles, but you maybe won't get the owner on there, but you can still reach them through email.
Okay. Get on LinkedIn. That's what I heard. That's awesome. I had no clue. Just the power. I've heard it, but being able to hear you, knowing what you do, the impact you've had, it's like, all right, I gotta figure that thing out. And I would venture to bet that most listeners probably are in the same boat of, whether they're running their own business or not, they need to be on LinkedIn because of the power that it has.
Well, and a couple of other things. Here's a few more statistics. 42% of millionaires are on LinkedIn. Of the world's millionaires are on LinkedIn. The average income is over $100,000. That's more than any other social media platform. So when you look at that, and because I help people get very high level clients, they almost always have to be on LinkedIn. They almost always have to move to LinkedIn, because that's where the big clients are. Even targeting employees, your multi-six-figure employees are going to be on LinkedIn, and you can find them, actually find them.
That's awesome. So, to go, okay, I'm going to go on LinkedIn. I'm going to optimize my page. What you're really doing there seems like is creating that expert, that authority marketing. Man, what is that? Why is it important? And why should we, whether we're running a business or even just creating a professional profile online, why should that be so important to us?
Well, first of all, what do you want to be known for? I'm all about attraction marketing. So I want to attract and influence. And that's really what we're talking about here. When you have a really robust profile that establishes you as the expert, I call it positioning, the outside perception. People have a view in your brand and what you do. When you have that, it really almost convinces people that you know what you're doing. You build credibility. All of that is a piece of that. And when you do that, when people come to you, it's helping them believe that you are the only person that can help them. When people book on my calendar, they are practically sold. They're practically ready to buy because they've already seen what I do. They've already checked me out. My message is congruent across all platforms. If they Google me, they're going to see the same things. And that's all part of that expert positioning. But really, it influences buyers. It will either influence them or repel them because they won't have a need or they will have it. But no, you don't have to hard sell people. You don't have to do any of those things because your marketing has done the heavy lifting for you. And that's really what that can do.
I love it. And so as we start to wrap this up, man, talk about the podcast that you have, because I always love when there's a fellow podcaster to promote, and tell us about your show, and then where can people find you online?
Awesome. So my show is called Expert in You. You can just Google it, and it's on all the major platforms as well. And I interview other experts, typically that have been in their space or in their industry for a very, very long time, or they're doing something really cool or unique. But I interview them and just bring that value to my audience, and I shine the light on them. And it's also a client getting strategy that I use and that I teach my clients to use. So we teach them how to get clients with their podcast and partnerships and referrals. So those are the three things that we do. So my show is a little bit different. It definitely brings value, but it also has a strategy behind it.
That's awesome. We'll definitely check that out. And then where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn.
There it is. There's a layup.
If you want to book a call with me because something resonated with you and you maybe want some help to do what I talked about, you can go to acarden.com. But you can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a robust YouTube channel. You'll have no trouble finding me if you just Google me. So
awesome, very cool. Well, Google, we'll have all the links in the show notes. And before we let you go, Ann, got one more question for you. At Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast, we want to know, what does it mean to be a champion to you?
Well, I probably already referred to this earlier when I talked about my newsletter, but my belief is never stop raising your bar. Your own personal bar. I see so many people settle. They settle for comfort. They settle for where they are in that complacency. And I just believe life is made where it's a gift, and you just need to grab every single day and keep being your best and doing your best. So
I love it. Raise the bar, do your best, and then some. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Kyle. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to the Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. Our passion is to talk to successful people and hear all about their journey and what it took to get there. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit up the website at unleashthechamp.com. Find us on Instagram at Kyle J. Sullivan and hit up that Facebook page at Unleash the Champ. Remember, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, keep moving.